I do want to say to Donnie and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
Get my head up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just look at Donnie.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Morris?
Oh, my heart.
Happy 20th anniversary.
My heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Johnny.
Shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, and dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh.
The doctor lived next door to the janitor to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we've been so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Donnie, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me.
First name's Donnie, last name's Glover, in it to win it for the long haul, baby. We have a very special guest today to discuss a topic that's critically important, especially right now to the health and wealth of Baltimore. In 2016, the United States Department of Justice investigated the Baltimore Police Department. Why did they invest the police department? Because something happened in 2015 that many of us locals will never, ever forget. It was the untimely death, some say murder, of Freddie Gray. It changed Baltimore. It was the worst day in Baltimore in many people's lives. A lot of people don't remember 1968, but 47 years later, the consent decree came about because of the riots, the unrest that resulted from the death of Freddie Gray. So after the investigation, BPD was engaged. It was found that the BPD, Baltimore Police Department, was engaged in a pattern and practice of unconstitutional policing. So the consent decree came about. And one local young man from Sandtown was a part of that consent decree. Ray Kelly, how you doing?
I'm good, Donnie. Thanks for having me this morning.
What do you remember about 2015, the unrest, the Freddie Gray? Where were you?
Well, at about 2 o'clock, I was here at St. Peter's in the office and saw the news coverage of the convergence about to happen. So in actuality, I tried to drive up to Mondawmin and catch the major up there before something crazy happened. So when the first blow hit that bus on Ricestown and Gwynns Falls, I was 2 cars in front of it. So I was right there at ground zero.
So the young people from Douglas High School, correct me if I'm wrong, hello to Peggy Morris. We just had a wonderful event Friday night, Black Wall Street, DMV. Special thank you to Sisters for Sisters. But if I'm not mistaken, Police Commissioner Batts closed Mondawmin subway station and did not relay that information to the principal of Frederick Douglass High School, who had inadvertently let the students out early because of the suspicion of some unrest. So you close the subway on one hand, and then you release the students from Douglas, half of whom used that metro to get home, And so they're now converged there with no way to get home. Is that what happened?
Not only did that happen, that's correct. That happened in sequence, but what we left out was when they closed Mondawmin Metro, they set up a body barricade of police officers.
So you now have these kids boxed in, those that have to go that way home.
And you know, Mondawmin is like the biggest hub for public school transit. All in West Baltimore, the buses meet at Mondawmin Station, and then the kids disperse to where they're going to go. So you're right. It was like a
manufactured unrest.
Without a doubt. And we learned later that the intelligence was nonsense.
Yeah, and then the news. Thank God for black news. Oh, help me somebody. The news, because the news spread fast. Lies travel faster than the truth. The lies spread. Obama got bad intel. Because had he known the scenario, I don't think he would have said, these people are thugs. It was like a knife in the chest. But these young people started walking home, and then the news reported, quote unquote, the rioters are coming down Pennsylvania Avenue.
The rioters were forced down Pennsylvania Avenue.
The rioters were students with khaki pants and button-down shirts.
And that's an important point to recognize is the riots happened because of this confrontation with our kids. So that's what prompted the outrage in our community, was the fact that these is kids in khaki pants and blue shirts, and you got police with shields and batons and helmets on, ready to greet them at their only route home. And the police, the barricade, is what pushed the children down Pennsylvania Avenue. They got to Penn North, and there was no access to that subway now because of preparation. And like you said, kids are rioting, they panicking, they anxious because they trying to get home. They don't know what the hell's going on.
But some kids were just walking down the street going home.
Without a doubt.
They weren't bothering anybody. I'm not saying all, but I saw it with my own eyes when I got over here to Pennsylvania and Lawrence, and I was so mad at myself because 11, 13, they were saying the rioters are coming down the avenue.
I agree. It was a lot of media misinformation where no one was asking the question, where the hell are these kids supposed to go? You were there, you know, they shut down Upton, Penn North, and Mondawmin.
They didn't say students. The storyline had nothing about students. The narrative, that's the word I was looking for, had nothing to do with students from Frederick Douglass High School, the oldest high school for blacks in the city of Baltimore. Nothing about that. Rioters immediately, and you know something else I want to point out. The provocateurs. I encountered one down at City Hall. Provocateurs in from out of town, disguised as Muslim, because Muslim is supposed to be about peace. This couldn't have been a true Muslim. Provocateurs from out of state who came to this city, led youth over there to the stadium, and then abandoned them.
And I think I had the same encounter with the same provocateur.
Tall brown skinned cat.
Called me and said that we here to support you. We're going to bring 5,000 people. I'm like, don't bring nobody down here. We already got enough issues. And they didn't per se bring them to our neighborhood, but like you said, they still organized and brought all them out of town clowns to the stadium and whatever the case.
Do you remember people bringing truckloads of bricks, rocks, and setting and dropping them off at strategic intersections across downtown.
So for me, you know, I was on Stricker Street in the midst of all that chaos at Western District. So, you know, a couple of days after the unrest, we had a fight on Mount Street between news people, and one of them shot the other one. This is what's coming into our. This is what the media is fighting over, this narrative, like you said, that they willing to kill each other over.
Media
Yeah.
shot media.
Yeah. They got into a confrontation about parking right by the Winchester Street Bridge. One of them got shot. That's the
news media.
environment that they created over here, where I tried not to go downtown because my people ain't really down there unless we got to go down there.
Ray, I was explaining to a visitor to Sandtown just yesterday. The Sandtown, the 72 square blocks, we have our issues, but most of the issues that happen here from people coming through, whether it's trash, illegal dumping, people copping drugs. I'm not saying we don't have pharmaceutical salespeople, but the violence tends to be imported. People here ain't gonna shoot people in their own neighborhood.
You're right. And I don't know, I grew up on the Strip. So we were taught early on, you don't bring that kind of conduct to the Strip because you're messing up everybody's money.
Yeah.
And the OGs would stop that. And you take that the shootings happen off center on the block somewhere late at night. Never are we having broad daylight shootings on Pennsylvania Avenue. Too much money coming through there. So you're right. We have our issues, but because of the disinvestment in our community, but they just let it run rampant. Like you said, this selling drugs has always been a viable source of income in this community because the city and the history has kind of slated us to be that.
Ray, when I look at the consent decree, the biggest thing that I saw, the biggest change I saw, the consent decree hemmed up the cops. It was like, it's like, okay, police officers, you've been treating black people badly, and now you're going to get it together. And then the police reaction to the consent decree was, all right, well, let me just step back because I don't appreciate you grabbing me all up in my collar. So I'm just going to back up and let y'all just go ahead and kill each other, and we'll just call the morgue when it's time.
I don't disagree with that. I've said that publicly, where what happened is the culture of policing decided they was going to buck. And we can have the best police reform mandates on paper, but implementing them into this culture is becoming the biggest hindrance, where we have to have police cooperation. This consent decree wasn't really crafted to stop the violence or anything like that. It was stopping police violence and changing how they behave. And like you said, I agree that it changed to a point of let's watch and see, sitting back. A lot of ineffective policing is what I call it. We keep talking about staffing issues where we see it all the time, where it just seems like to us, police ain't doing a damn thing. They just sitting there. They ain't in our blocks. We not seeing the police unless we call them, and on the strips, they just sitting there on their phones or sitting in their cars or whatever the case may be. And be that the case or not, that's what it looks like to us.
Dr. Tyrone Powers said last week that the problem in Baltimore today, this is February 6th, Black History Month, the problem today is bad policing.
I agree. It's ineffective policing. And it's partially the pushback because of oversight and reform mandates. And another piece of it is this culture of policing was created to control and oppress Black people, where when you try to change that, it loses a lot of appeal to all these gung-ho, I'm gonna get out here and clean up the streets and all of that, where the appeal to policing is now less because they can't beat us over the heads in Baltimore.
Ray Kelly, I saw there was a time at the Avenue Market where we had effective policing.
Andy and Chuck, Iris and them, I agree. I was right there. I can say honestly, in 2018, we had a visible community and police presence on Pennsylvania
Why
lawn.
did they get moved? Who moved them? Who is the brain surgeon? Who is the brain surgeon down at BPD who thought, well, you know, these guys they've stabilized the community. You know what? We're going to move them to, we're going to move them somewhere else now.
I don't know who personally did it. I know it had a lot to do with the disbanding of the, what they call it, the community collaboration, or
okay,
that little community. It changed names like 4 times. I think the name you just said is right too, but I think they disbanded that, and that was a big piece. That for us, that was our foot patrols. We lost. You remember, I'm gonna say in the late 90s when we had the Pennsylvania Avenue Collaborative that came, put bags over all the parking meters. You couldn't park. Central District, Western District were working together. We kind of moved into a place where you had these recognized people that for no other reason demanded that respect on the street. And then when you lose that, these new police ain't checking them. The new police ain't really getting out their cars. So I don't know whose idea it was. I complain about it all the time because you're right. We had that joint under control. We had officers that are tenured at the market, that certain things, we would never have a shooting on Penn North in broad daylight. It just don't happen. I mean, on Pennsylvania lawns in broad daylight, it just didn't happen.
Because
this is where we are.
There was a balance.
Exactly.
There was a balance. There was respect.
That's what's missing. There's no respect, and coupled with the fact that we don't even know these officers. I don't know who moved these officers that over the years have done nothing but also give back to, you know, I mean, turkey giveaways, me and Chuck collaborated with. It's ridiculous. Me, the police reform advocate, is saying this is the worst thing y'all could do to the Avenue was move these officers that have put in years to earn enough respect to keep our corners clean.
They could walk down, they could walk out the market over to Legends, and the waters would open up. Like they
better believe it. And it was, like you said, that was a respect thing for, it wasn't as much a respect for the police as a respect for those two in that situation.
Yeah. So we want to send a special thank you out to retired police officer Chuck Lee, the officer Evan Anderson, and Iris Martin, who and to their mentor, Kirk Fleet, Sergeant Fleet, who set the tone for years. You did not have foolishness in the ranks. Try starting a dope line while Sergeant Fleet was around there.
Right. Think about how clean the 1800 block was when we was all out there. We had people that we knew engaged in pharmaceutical sales, but before the day got rolling, they were the same ones out there sweeping that street, cleaning up, bagging up trash. You know what I mean? Like you said, there was a respect for our situation on Pennsylvania lawns.
Yeah, we talk about it like it was ancient history.
I know. It's terrible, ain't it? Because it was just 2019.
Ray, I have said it on this show that one of the biggest changes I saw was when addicts who didn't match the majority demographic of the area come to the community. Before that, they would get G-checked before they got out their cars. I saw it. Oh, where you going? Why are you here? Before they would even get out their car, you got to go. They would have to pay somebody
Mm-hmm.
to cop for them and meet them somewhere else. Now the thing that you know, in ping pong you put that spin on it.
English.
Now the thing is, the addict that doesn't match the majority demographic lives on the avenue. They ain't got no package on the avenue. I don't think that's not going to happen. The day that happens be the day.
No, that ain't gonna happen.
You bring back a black pope.
So my first day in the office on Pennsylvania Avenue, I go out back to smoke.
Oh, they out
And
back.
I see a tent made, jacket hanging on the fence, pants hanging, blocking them. Somebody curled up by the air conditioning, and it's a white boy. And I'm saying to myself, when was it safe for a white boy to fall asleep on the back of Pennsylvania Avenue?
Up
Couldn't
in the
remember
hole,
it in my history. And that's when I first started seeing that.
right behind the no boundaries. The bank used to be the bank.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. That's right there. He was curled up. He had a whole tent set up at the air conditioner, broke the lock and everything to the air conditioning unit, and that was his home. And I'm like, how the hell can you be on Pennsylvania Avenue when it's dark? That could have never happened. But that's where we are. And it's because they allowing the drugs and the fentanyl to flow straight through our area.
I heard a young pharmaceutical salesperson of African American descent said, "Don't mess with him. That's my customer."
Wow.
Show him some respect. I saw with my own eyes. Ray, I almost
I
died.
missed that one.
Almost
Yeah.
died and came back as a, I don't know.
I don't know. They got white corner people down on Division Street. Now, how the hell that don't stand out?
And some of these addicts who don't match the majority demographics will pop somebody. I've heard of more than one instance of violence.
Yeah, you see that type of activity comes along with that same gentrification we see creeping up Lawn Street and creeping down Division Street.
Is it gentrification, Ray, or is it abandonment?
So we as a community were abandoned years ago. It's now it's the precursor to gentrification. Development is always the precursor, and
But what
believe
about
you me, they
those
still
who
shifting
are
people.
black?
They definitely dislocating people from our community to somewhere else in this whole process.
But some of us got houses right across the street and have walked off. Grandma died. We left her. Grandma died 20 years ago. We have done nothing with the house. Attic break in, fire, roof gets destroyed, property gets eventually trashed.
I don't say that we don't. Our community and our people have no blame in this. I definitely feel like over the past, I'm not even going to say since Freddie Gray. I'm going to say since Penderhugh's closed, that we have been on the wrong trajectory in our community, and there has been fear flight, I'll call it. It ain't white fight. It's just people saying, I'm tired of dealing with this. It's too hot out here. It's too dangerous and moving. And there was a lot of blight before 15. So it's just since 2010, the black population in Sandtown has gone down 27%. I think I was looking at the census information, and the white population has gone up 21%. That's census data.
I welcome white neighbors. I just want clean neighbors. I want responsible neighbors. And at this juncture, Ray, my thought is if white folks are coming here to build, welcome.
I agree. And I'll say for the record, I don't dislike white people, but I hate white privilege. And like you said, if we come in here to build community and we're going to build this up together, that's great. You welcome. Everybody see I work with white people all the time. You didn't even accuse me of bringing white people to Sandtown. But if you come in here to kind of be a higher authority or thinking you better than us and you're going to fix us, we don't need you here.
That part right there.
That's the truth. We got this. We just ain't got the resources. I get tired of hearing people say that we're going to empower Black people. We got the power. We just ain't got the funds and the resources to make it happen. And that's intentional. So I ain't about that hero complex. Don't come here trying to save me. I saved myself 15 years ago. I'm good now. You want to come in and help save the rest of our community? That's great. But no, you don't got the solutions. You ain't even never lived it.
I did question all of the sudden interest in our community because during Freddie Gray, what I recall is our perspective was not their perspective. Their perspective was more policing.
Still their perspective. Still, we got to keep that fight of understanding that the solution.
We're talking about the balance.
Right. The solution, you can't have
abject
balance in public safety when you only invest 1 cent into both addiction and mental health treatment for every dollar you invest in law enforcement.
And then public education. We had 3 elementary schools. Then there were 2. They put a new library in Gilmore Elementary.
I advocated for it. It was the worst thing I ever seen.
A new library, and then they closed the school.
Right. So let me give you my take on that. Now you were there, you remember. Back in after the riots, we had a whole double up 21217 to increase votes at Gilmore Elementary Precinct. We worked our asses off with Abe and them. We had all of those people who were concerned in Gilmore Homes voting. And we made an impact. We influenced the consent decree. And in response, you know what the system did? Tore down half of Gilmore Homes, closed the school to make sure that don't happen again, because people are always going to be vested in their children. And that's what we organized around. So now they moved the school. So then you got to start that. And that's what they try to do is, even though they recognize the impact that movement had, in that back room, they saying we can't let that happen again.
Why? Too much power?
Because they don't want change. The system don't want change. You got to remember, policing is founded to protect the property of the haves from the have-nots. And this is a country where for 400 years, they told us we couldn't have anything. It was practically illegal to even look like a free Black man. And now they kind of enforce these laws that are focused around crimes of poverty, but they don't help resource the poverty that they created in our communities.
So what I hear you saying is that the lack of investment in historic East Baltimore and historic West Baltimore is coupled with investment in the White L, from Johns Hopkins University down to the harbor, over to Canton, Boston Street. We got all of them fancy new. You go over there to Boston Street, straight out Boston Street, man, you look like you're in another part of the world. Got a Nordstrom's rack all over there, a Harris Tweeter. I had never even heard about no damn Harris Tweeter. What's the other one? They got some real good, Sprouts. I said, oh my God, they have.
Yeah.
Wow.
Brussels. And that's intentional. Think of how long we've been fighting.
We've been fighting, man.
For a supermarket. And like you said, they got choice Wegmans. You can go to Wegmans. You can go to Harris Teeter. You can go to. I mean, we still can't get a supermarket. And
we got Mondawmin shoppers with tainted meat. And all these Black people work up in shoppers who are Black in the meat department. Somebody need to talk to y'all.
And I ain't even going to get into that because we got shoppers, but if you live in your block and you 65 years old without a car and need to go to the market,
And
what
don't
good
know
is
how to use
shoppers doing you?
Amazon.
You're going to have to carry them bags on the bus, the subway, whatever the case may be. If
Stepping
you
over
tight,
white addicts, black addicts, dope man.
right, you got to walk through the strip, all of that just to get to a supermarket.
So
And
big up to all of our seniors and Santams, because
without
you
a
are
doubt.
certified OG.
Right. And they don't get that. And they don't see the connection between the public safety issue and that health issue. Because if you're not providing quality food and things in the community, then people gotta travel to that spot to get their food. And we already know the issues we got in the blocks. So now, like you're saying, you making people, seniors, risk their lives just to eat.
Ray, 2 Saturdays ago, a shooting broke out. It's all on the news. I saw one spot had legends on Instagram, the most violent carryout in Baltimore. Have you and I become numb?
No,
Have we become numb because we will go to Legends for a coffee, for a tea?
What's up, special? I ain't gonna make pretend. I still go to Legends all the time. It's like I said, we become aware. We know when and how to. We know how to navigate this community on foot, like it's the back of our hands. So we know when shit is getting crazy. We know when we got to be on point. We know, the climate, so to speak, because we've been around there so long. So
Chuck Lee barred me from going there. He barred me for a while. He said don't go there. I'm like, Chuck, where else we go? Where else
right.
we go? So let me go early. I go early. But he barred me from late night, from evening time going to Legends.
So
but this is what I learned. Ray. Donnie, Ray, even Calvin. We have to use our status to talk to the young brothers because they watching you, they watching me, they watching Calvin. I watched Calvin come through there, and I'm not putting him on a pedestal. I'm not saying he is. That's not his job per se. He does run the boxing spot, but I've seen him walk from Upton Boxing to Legends, and I saw the respect them kids gave him.
I agree. And
you can't buy that.
Quiet is kept. I'm still out there every week. I'll be out there today handing out flyers. We got a resource and connection thing happen here every third Thursday where we do expungements and free legal services and all that stuff, because I've been trying for the past 12 years of my life to help these guys. And I get it. I know I've lived it where we got to get this money to survive. We got kids. I understand all that, but I also have learned in my own transition that another way is possible. We ain't going to get them all, but you're right. We got to maintain our presence. That's why I left the monitoring team and came back to the church, is because when I leave to go work and be an agent of the court, then we don't got that strong representation on the street no more. And nobody really stepped in to fill that gap. So that's more important to me, is saving those lives than some status with the courts.
Ray, I used to give you the blues about the consent decree.
I know.
I used to ask you questions. Well, Ray, what about this? What about that? Because you were the only one there to talk to.
And I feel like that's what got lost when I left. I feel like now people don't feel like it's accessible as it was when I was there.
Then I saw all of these people who seem to have other interests. I'm seeing people from this neighborhood and that neighborhood, and they're articulating. And I'm saying, are they articulating or are they there for a check?
They there for a
Because
check.
with Ray, even though I didn't all the way get clarity, even though I didn't get all of my clarity, yet I saw you here. I can at least say, hey, Ray, hey, there, Ray right there, that's Ray. But these other people, I don't know these people. They can't walk these streets.
So I'll tell you this, and you can research it and verify it. There's only one person that sits on that floor with the parties of the consent decree that was there when we started this process. And that's the guy from the DOJ, Tim McGett. Everybody else is different. There was no monitoring team when we started this. All, like I said, we don't know these guys.
I don't hear from them no more. I don't hear from them no more. You used to see little memos coming out.
But understand that that work was systemic, where I took a lot of flack because
you did.
For me, communication was the most important piece. Until I joined that monitoring team, the people in our communities didn't even know that BPD policies was changing. So that reinvigorated all of that community input and changing these policies to fit us. But that ain't really what they want. You know what I mean? I've had more than one time where the process got overwhelmed because we organized in community around a part of that consent decree, where they are required to review, all the parties have to review every piece of input that comes in from the community. So when we had the policy open for the community policing plan, we had like over 180 people give public comments, and they had to file an extension because you had to review it all. And for real, because the people got engaged, we changed those policies. Now, I'm not going to say that changed what happened on the street, because I said earlier, implementation is a whole nother beast that we got to address. But this process ain't prepared for the community input that we can bring. So it's important for them, it's a requirement to post, this is going to be a public meeting, blah, blah, blah. Where for me, it was a necessity to make sure the people knew there was going to be a public meeting. Because I know people in my community, me included, I ain't going to check no consent decree website to see when the next public meeting is going to be. I'm expecting somebody to tell me that. I feel like in this process, too much responsibility to engage and be informed falls on us, when we don't got a consent decree because of something we did. We got a consent decree because of what the police department did. So that should fall on them in the city to make sure that they are working in the interest of that consent decree.
Ray Kelly, where are we today when it comes to Baltimore City crime?
So I'll first say Western District. So a lot of initiatives have happened in Western District in the past year. And despite what, Pennsylvania Lawns is Central District. So that's a whole nother issue. We getting redistricted now, but in Western District, for real, in 2022, homicides and non-fatal shootings were down 34%. That didn't translate around the whole city because the pilots were in Western District, and the rest of the city is going on that same trajectory, where violence in the city is where it's been to me for the past 5 or 6 years since Freddie Gray. I don't think that has changed for me. I feel like we got a whole new area of disinvestment that's causing crime, which is the fentanyl epidemic, where that's another issue where they said, y'all got to handle that yourself. We're going to give everybody Narcan. Y'all take care of that issue. So that increased open air trade is fueling the violence. But it ain't really got no worse since 2016. It seems like it because the media only gravitates to it. But if you look at the numbers, since the riots of 2015, that was our fall off the cliff. If you remember, we celebrated in Western District on Curry and Lawns in 2014 because we had the lowest number of homicides in 12 years when we had 21 in Western District. So like you said, it's not 100 years ago that we saw these differences. And like I said, we just got to keep pushing on the other side of it. We got to keep pushing on helping the people that are the victims and the perpetrators so there'll be less violence. We don't want to arrest more killers. We want to have less killings.
I look at the Baltimore City Police Commissioner, Harrison. I watch the news ask him a question, and I see him look to the mayor. Every day on the news, we see Mackenzie Frost. Well, she guarding Brandon Scott like Muggsy Bogues. I mean, she on him. It's a chess game every day. But meanwhile, it seems to be getting worse. I mean, I'm not sure what City Hall is looking at. I'm not sure what their plan is. I'm not sure what their strategy is. But what I do see is lawlessness. How many times I got to tell you that Lawrence Street is a problem? And thank God they finally took down that dumb apparatus outside the Avenue Market that was supposed to be for pop-ups, because the only thing popping up on it was drug addicts. I saw one lady out there one time trying to sell something, some $14 crab soup, and I still don't know what she was thinking.
Right. So what do you think? What's your take on this $4 million investment into Lafayette Market that doesn't triculate into any investment into Lawrence Street or Pennsylvania Avenue?
I told then State Senator Verna Jones back around 2000 that if you're going to do anything for Pennsylvania Avenue, you also have to do something. If you're trying to fix the economic corridor, the financial strip, where the money is, then you got to do something for housing on the east and west side of Pennsylvania Avenue. That would be Carey Street. No. That would be like Fremont. That would be Division Street. So this avenue on one side, a block to the east, a block to the west, you got to help improve housing on both sides of that, because those are your customers.
Right.
That's your base. That's your customer base. And they didn't invite me back to any more meetings.
Yeah, I get the same treatment when I make suggestions over there. I'm not part of the master plan.
Quite often, too often, our Black politicians don't understand the money, don't understand basic business. I went over to Broadway Street the other day, little Spanish town or little Latinoville. Kelly Cross said on the show that the zoning in the Black community limits the number of businesses. And so if you have a limitation on your Black businesses in particular, in a 63% Black city, then that means that you're not hiring people, you're not growing Black businesses, you're not able to do for self. Marcus Garvey, do for self. I watched on Pennsylvania Avenue some painting being done at the apartments down there by Zion Towers or down there by Robert C. Marshall. And the Latino is doing the painting and the Black man is standing there watching, unemployed. And I'm like,
how'd that work out?
This is wrong. Now, I didn't watch Willie Adams and That Day on Pennsylvania Avenue, but I was taught about a time when we took care of our own.
And I think that's what's missing is we done got to a place where not only do we complain about what we don't have, but we also sit back and wait for it to arrive via parachute or whatever the case may be. Where when I grew up on Pennsylvania Avenue, like you said, it was the Pennsylvania Avenue merchants and the people that lived around there that took care of Pennsylvania Avenue. I can remember a time if somebody saw you on Pennsylvania Avenue, you had money. You was going shopping. They looked at you a different way. Yeah. Now, if somebody see you on Pennsylvania Avenue, first thing they do,
they copping
right.
dope.
What he doing down there? What he copping or something? What he relapse? Or where that's the reality of this shift. Where I think you hit it on the nail is even back in the day, we had limited access to businesses in our communities. We had all these legacy built Tommy Tucker and all them stores they wasn't ours, but they were like legacied into that community, where by the time we got to a place that we could actually afford ownership, then you had all these restrictions and all these hoops you got to jump through, and they still make it harder and harder for us to this day.
So what's
it's
the
intentional.
point of Black elected officials if their presence isn't translating into economic empowerment for the Black community?
Well, I answer that question all the time, and I feel like the problem with politics in Baltimore is we've kind of declined so much over the past couple of decades that we don't really have a lot to shine here. So the politicians,
Democrats, you need some Republicans and some independents.
I agree, but for here,
because the
politicians have become the celebrities in this city.
Yeah, so how can you be a celebrity? You got your head all up in the air, but your neighborhood look worse than Baghdad.
Exactly,
bro.
Exactly, and I think that's the biggest issue. I think that's the biggest issue. We don't have representation of the majority of our communities and our elected officials. We kind of
always tweeting, man. They're always Instagramming, IGing.
Well, like I said, there's no celebrity in this city. I wish we could get a nice run on arena players for a nice, good Black play for a year or two where those stars live in Baltimore, so the politicians don't have to be the celebrities and they can actually work. We got a broken legislative mechanism locally here. Our city local legislation rarely, if ever, accomplishes anything. You hear about this partnership or that partnership with this influencer, but you'll never hear anything about creating policies and regulations that actually promote our communities, support our communities, and lift our communities.
How come you didn't turn your back, Ray?
Because I know what it's like.
How come you try to stay and make a difference?
Because I'm from here. I get it. I know what it's like. And
oh, you could have moved by now, Ray. I'm sure
I definitely could have moved by now.
Could have moved to Randallstown.
My job ain't done here, man. There's still people out there. You know, it's people out on that dope strip I see that I used to get high with. They still out there. I've been clean for 15 years.
Ray. Well, that means you're meeting a different caliber of people, and they live in different neighborhoods. And Ray, hey, you could have moved to Cecil County somewhere.
Martin Luther King said while he was sitting in prison in Birmingham, Alabama, said, how can he be in Birmingham and not be concerned about what's happening in Mobile? I'm the same way. How can I be in Owens Mills or somewhere fancy and not be concerned about where I grew up and what's happening down here in Sandtown? So why leave?
Ray, upwardly mobile Black women are not coming back to Sandtown.
Well, I think that's on our city and on our people to understand what is actually happening to Sandtown.
Am I right?
Well, without a doubt. Without a doubt. We know that
I ain't going down there. Classism
is a real thing in the Black community, and you and I both know it's a whole demographic of black people that feel like they too good for the whole avenue, where they judge everybody that come down there and get a cup of coffee because of what they saw on the news, what just happened to the young lady on Lawn Street, whatever the case. They not even seeing Fremont Avenue. You know how many years I lived on Division Street unseen? But you're right. They not seeing that people live here. The people that live there aren't the ones that are out there on that corner every day.
Ray, one of the biggest honors in the world is to walk through the strip. And one newbie will say, Ray Kelly got them blues, got them reds, got them greens. And somebody else will say, ho, 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 ho. He don't get high.
That happen all the time.
How does that make you feel, Ray?
So I'm not going to make pretend that I'm not proud of myself, because I know that I had the school counselor tell my mother I was going to be dead before I was 18. I know for a fact I disappointed a lot of neighbors in that area that watched me grow up in the church and had big things for me. And for me, you know how many times a person I ain't seen in 20 years will say, I'm watching you, Kelly. I'm proud of you. That's why I do this shit. It don't be politicians and these little resolutions and awards. It's something. It's an honor to make my elders proud, and it's an even bigger honor to have my elders tell me that they proud of me. So
I think
you're
it
right.
was Natalie Mercer who told me about you, first introduced me to you.
Natalie was my cousin. She passed last year before last, actually.
What did Natalie Mercer do on Pennsylvania Avenue?
Man, Natalie was the originator of alternate recovery, for real. In the 90s, Natalie was the one that brought that acupuncture in the city, and
damn pins.
She was dragging us into there, wasn't she?
I was willing to try anything.
You and me both. And
amen.
Until her last weeks of life, Natalie was still up here with me doing St. Vincent de Paul, handing out food, bringing in, you know how many volunteers and recovery Natalie spurred by the work we did here? It's crazy how these individuals that are still here maintained our community when we was crumbling. I was crumbled. You know what I mean? And they continued to believe in us, lift us up. How many times people done stopped you on the street and said, I ain't gonna give up on you? You know what I mean? And now look at us.
They can say what they want about Sandtown from a distance, but you and I know ain't no telling who you might see coming through here.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So we know them people had their head up in the air because we'd have seen them too.
Say it again, Donnie, because that's the real of it all.
We'd have seen them too, head up in there. Somebody coming from out of town, come get them. When you know where some coke at.
Yep.
Well.
Like they don't know. My office is really, they think it's at the church, but my office is actually on Carrion, Pennsylvania, where you and I both know one of the most popular spots to park and wait for somebody to bring you your shit is on Stockman and Pressman. I see them all day. Like you said, nose in the air, Facebook, I'm doing great and all of this. Straight down here buying some dope and something and playing the role.
Paying somebody go count the bag.
See it all the time. It ain't my place to judge. I let them do them, and I do the work that I'm called to do, though.
I can't forget when it was me.
Exactly. And that's why I got that understanding. I get it. You ain't ready. You ain't ready. Fiends lie. When we getting high, we lying to motherfuckers. We got to, because that's how we gonna get the next one. So I get it. You lying, you getting high. Do you? I'm here when you need recovery. You can come here on the third Thursday, and I promise you, I'll plug you into inpatient treatment. But other than that, do you?
Ray, tell me some people. Let's identify some people who have blessed our community since Freddie Gray. And you got to start with the beautiful sister named Miss Brown.
Miss Marlene?
Miss Brown.
Oh, Miss Brown from my office? Miss Brown passed away a month after Natalie.
No, Donna.
Oh, Donna Brown, my partner in crime. So Donna hasn't stopped. You know yourself. Donna came down to an event that I did maybe in July of 2015, and she ain't never left. Her feet to the street every day. People don't know. Donna do so much. Donna worked with women not only that are just coming home, but she working with them before they come home from prison. People don't know that when the pandemic hit. Let me ride on Donna 1 second. People don't know that when the pandemic hit, Donna Brown single-handedly fully stocked MCIW with quality soap. She collected so much soap because they couldn't get those deliveries. They were stuck with safe state soap. And Donna herself not only collected all of that soap, she delivered it to them. They counted it, and she had to bring some back because that's more inventory than they have capacity for. That's the Donna Brown that we know. Donna's still delivering groceries to the seniors around here through all this. And the whole time, she's the project manager at CPP.
I apologize, Donna Brown, for giving you the blues somewhat. I just caught myself trying to keep people accountable. But you ain't told the full story. You didn't tell them that Donna Brown is a model.
Without a doubt.
A supermodel.
She got the pretty girl thing going on too, and she's a minister as well.
Supermodel minister working on Pennsylvania Avenue, who will cut you with a razor blade of scripture before you even crack slick.
Believe you me, Donna facilitated a meeting about local control. I don't know what God-given message she threw out there, but we had 50 residents on the LCAB meeting after that. Where Donna's the truth. She done lived the truth. You know her. You know Donna. She ain't talking about some stuff she don't know. She done lived it. She done survived it. And she committed to it. I think that's what's going to lift the present community up, is those of us that are committed to making the situation we went through better. And that's definitely Donna Brown.
Thank you, Donna Brown. Name some other people who have been a blessing since Freddie Gray.
So we got to talk about another Miss Brown, Marlene Brown, Shirley, you remember Miss Shirley Payne, Miss Alvesta passed away, but all them Nehemiah women.
Alvesta Cooper.
Yeah. All them Nehemiah, Miss Barbara Williams and all of them, all them Nehemiah women's, they're the ones that stood up and got that attention for us because, you know, they see us as agitators. We can't really make those elected officials come here. But them Nehemiah women, them seniors that then gave 25 and 30 years out of their life to this community, they make them listen. I want to also talk about the moms. You know who's been real strong partner through all of this? It's the mothers of murdered. Yeah, Darlene and the mothers of murdered sons and all of those groups, because they why we do this work, man. They done been through the worst of what this system has to offer us, and still they willing to stand beside me and fight the system for equal justice.
So these
instead of just getting out.
They've lost their sons, their daughters in these streets, and they come together. How many? It's like 4 different advocacy groups.
Yep.
But collectively, they represent the moms in this city, and if you've ever got up close and personal with them, you hear their pain, but you hear their strength too, that they don't want it to happen to someone else's child. But I've seen them welcome in those new mothers who are new to this pain, this trauma. Darlene Kane is my sister-in-law, so to watch these people. You know their stories. I knew Dale. I watched Dale, her son, grow up. is real, and their strength is out of this world. It's otherworldly.
And we couldn't imagine it.
I couldn't do that. I don't
Right.
know.
I couldn't imagine that either. I got 2 sons myself where I couldn't imagine having to fight for someone else's son after the same thing has happened to my son, and then do it for Darlene. That's 14 years. Dale died in 2009. So just think about how many traumas these mothers have had to assume, but yet keep their composure for the next mother.
Over and over.
Right.
When does it end? Ray, what do you want people to do now? What's the call to action?
We got to get involved, man. We got to get real representation of our interests from this community. And we did it before and they fought back, but we can do it for real. I think citywide, we tired of the damn show. Everything seems like a show. Everything is social media, pictures and all that, where we still haven't used the greatest weapon that this system has gave us in Baltimore, which is our vote to the final, to its full capacity. Where right now, if you over 18 and never ever committed any kind of election fraud, then you can vote. And we got to get that message out there and get our people voting.
Isn't voting suspect in Baltimore City?
No. I don't buy into a lot of
some people
voter conspiracy as much as I feel like we got so much clique politics, legacy politics here. I don't think we got voter tampering where we ain't falling into no cliques. And if we organize,
Ray, 3 times people say Sheila Dixon got robbed in 2016 and 2020. They say she won that election. Wasn't no way to Pugh beat her. Wasn't no way to Brandon Scott beat her. Then all of that talk just went away. I guess somebody got a check.
I'm not going to speculate. You know, I love Miss Sheila. She's the one mayor that this city where people tell me all the time, Miss Sheila helped me with this, and they don't call her. When I'm in the hood, they call her Miss Sheila. They don't call her Mayor Dixon or nothing like that. So I won't speculate on voter fraud, but you got to have the utmost respect when you get 40,000 people to write your name on a big piece of paper on a general election. That's big ups to that. I personally accept the results as they came.
There's an election next year. Do we stick with this current course? Or do we have to bring in a new quarterback?
So I'll say we got a whole nother year. I hope it's not wasted on campaigning. I've seen some good first steps taken by this administration, but I've also seen a lot of areas that just don't work for me.
Are they going to throw the police commissioner under the bus?
So that's a good question because, you know,
I've been doing. They got to throw him under the bus.
Well, I'll say this.
I mean, you get paid.
Harrison. So when he first came here, I was kind of Ray Kelly to him. Yeah. I was Ray Kelly to him. Look, shelf life for a police commissioner in this city is 2 years. I'll talk to you after that. And he been here now 4.5 years. So be it because of the unstable politics, the consent decree, or somebody is actually seeing positive change. He been here for 4.5 years. You can't say that about a lot.
The federal judge said, do not change the course we're going on the consent decree. And I'm saying, hold up. The cops are not getting out the cars.
So
Pennsylvania,
that's still the issue. I think that's what we hit on in the beginning. The consent decree, for one, was crafted to mandate police procedures and how they interact with the community. It wasn't really crafted to stop crime or anything like that. We talked earlier about this whole taking a knee, stepping back, whatever we want to call it. And that's 100% true. But the consent decree has to be in place so we don't continue to go through Tyree Phillips situations. And personally, I feel like the federal government should step up, and all police departments should have to follow the same mandates as our consent decree and have some consistency and not a reliance on the state.
But what about Lawrence Street? I'm okay. Implement the consent
That's
decree.
where we got to advocate to our council people in our city to get those resources on Lawrence, get the resources where they're needed. I don't want to just say Lawrence Street because
that's not my question. I'm talking about the loitering. How many times do I have to say to you, get off my corner? And then they'll say, oh, but the consent decree say you can't ask me nothing.
So the consent decree has never changed the law.
Why the cops don't do nothing about Lawrence Street?
That the loitering statute came in 2013 before a consent decree. So essentially, there's this whole process with loitering. So you got to have a sign posted. You have to first give the warning to someone, to all of that structure.
But now it's shot, Ray. Maya, 23 years old, is dead.
I get it. I get that piece, but so how do we advocate for the present? We've been on for almost an hour talking about ineffective policing and things of that nature. And once again, we get back to the culture of our police department. What are they doing? The whole issue, the problem with how these consent decrees work is the police get every accommodation. There is no consequences when they don't do what they're supposed to do. So there was the assumption that if the police don't change how they do stuff here, then there would be consequences. But that was also under the Obama administration, and the DOJ then act with urgency because of Eric Holder or Loretta Lynch. When Donald Trump came into office, all consent decree investigations stopped. Our consent decree got signed because it was already signed by everybody but the judge. But we had then, immediately after signing the consent decree, we had 4 years of an administration that did not believe in police reform.
Ray, I'm taking you way over. It's 10:08, but one last question. Do we go back to zero tolerance?
Absolutely not. Because that's only going to overburden the state. It's only going to make it harder for people like us to get jobs. It's only going to impact our communities. You know what I mean? When we talk about aggressive enforcement, that ain't going to happen in Mount Washington. That ain't going to happen in Federal Hill or Harbor East. That's going to happen in Penn North, Penn and Lawrence, Edmondson and Poplar Grove.
But nothing has changed at Penn North since 2015. Nothing has changed since Freddie Gray. The only thing that's changed, we got a renovated Western District Police Station and a new funeral home, Al Wiley.
So if you remember, I had issues with that when it first happened, where we get all of these investors coming to our communities after one of our neighbors is killed brutally by the police, and they feel like the best investment they can do with their funds.
That was the name, Warhorse.
Yeah.
Kevin Plank.
That's right.
Nonprofit. We're going to renovate Western District Police Station. You're going to renovate the scene of the crime?
Mm-hmm. And we all had issues with that, but that's the mentality. My biggest issue with the consent decree is, even though it was brought forward on behalf of the residents of Baltimore, it ain't did nothing to this point but funnel hundreds of millions of dollars into law enforcement. They got to improve this. They got to have these. They got to have new cars, new cameras, new helicopters.
Ray, I saw the United Way collecting money during Freddie Gray. I saw some other initiative from the city collecting money. They reported $21 million collected.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen, now they did a couple of little Believe campaigns or people on the stage like Operation Champ back after the 68 riots. We saw a couple of rappers, a couple of hip hop artists, but where that damn money at, bro?
It definitely didn't come here. And
All these people were writing grants in the name of Sandtown, your community, brother. You ain't getting nothing.
so, like I said, it's hard to get funding for police reform work. So I ain't gonna make pretend it's not a struggle for me. I've been blessed to be able to keep doing the work. But you're right. You were there. Remember we went to the meeting up Fulton Baptist? All these people we ain't never seen before, got all these programs, we mentoring and blah, 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 blah.
Communities, clergy united to save Sandtown. I'm like, I ain't never seen none of y'all. What Sandtown y'all talking about?
Once again, that's the problem right there is
who are you?
The politics and all of that.
Ray, do you know this guy?
I know a couple of people from Cuts, but like I said, that ain't really what I'm seeing doing the work in Sandtown. That's what I see applying for the grants in Sandtown. But what's transpired out of that?
They moved. They moved.
Right. They all got nice houses in the county now.
Different zip codes now. Ray Kelly, how can people get in touch with you? Let me give you a moment. I want you to say that I was gracious. So you go ahead and plug whatever you need to plug, okay?
Well, I appreciate you because everybody know me and you done had our back and forths and conflicts over the years, but it's always for the benefit of our people. So like I said, every third Thursday, right here at St. Peter Claver, 1401 North Curry Street, we have Opportunity Avenue where we have free legal services. In February and March, we're going to have free tax services. Of course, we got groceries, food, and hygiene things if you need them, house supplies sometimes. Whatever you need, we're here to try to help you. So come through every third Thursday. And of course, we have our public safety meeting on the last Wednesday of every month. This Wednesday is our quarterly update from the Department of Justice. They'll be here on the 22nd, and we'll also be joined by the mayor's offices of neighborhood safety and engagement, so we can answer the question of where all this money going.
You want to put a number out there? How can people get in touch with you?
Reach us at any time at 443-708-5055. You can fill out our intake form for resources and just catch up on what we've been doing lately at our website, cpproject.org. And hopefully we just here to help. Like Donnie said, we got Donna Brown and the staff here, and we're here to serve. This is a stewardship organization.
What's the phone number again, Ray?
443-708-5055.
And what's the website?
cpproject.org.
Ray, thank you for all that you do. And I'm very glad that although, it might have been a rocky start sometimes your best friends start off in a little conflict.
Well, they say all relationships start at a point of conflict, even love. So I love you, brother. Keep doing what you're doing down there.
Love you back, Ray. Thank you for all you do.
Peace, bro.
Appreciate
you, Urban.
You know Irvin Reed?
I'm seeing that he recognizing me, so that's only respect. That's mutual respect right there.
Ray, he's a political godfather in Prince George's County, but he's from a community that they call themselves rich.
Cherry Hill. That's what it do.
Raised in Cherry Hill.
Much respect. One of my mentors, Kathy McLean, born and raised and still in Cherry Hill.
One way in, one way out.
You better believe it. Unless you know that back road coming through Westport, which I get lost on every time.
Ain't nowhere to get lost.
Y'all take it easy, man.
Good morning, world. Great job.